and monitor the chat pod. So if any of you have any questions, we can answer. I will stop the presenter and ask that question. So just type in the chat box. Okay.
Okay, well, welcome everyone to the Train PD Contract Trainers webinar. We want to hope this webinar will answer some questions for you, and we'll stop at a couple of points for you to ask some questions as we go through. And a lot of you work for us on a regular basis, and some of you probably want to work more often than you do. So we're going to start with some just basic things that you do as a trainer and go through just when we contract with you to train, and then go through the process and ask questions as we go to the slides. And get started. And I hope by now that everyone has a PD Portal account. Questions about the portal. This is the one thing, since we've been going in the portal since August, most participants have accounts in the portal. So those are questions you get often when you're training from participants that come into your trainings are about the portal. Either they are kids who didn't apply for accounts yet, so they may have questions for you, and we'll talk about that in a minute, or you have questions about the portal. So that's what we're going to address a little bit first, is for you, the trainer. And some of you are getting very good about going to the portal. For your form are there, and I'm going to show you some screenshots from the portal so that you can see where everything that you need in the portal yourself. And these specialists is always your backup and your go-to person if you're having trouble or need assistance with the portal, or any of these moving parts regarding your part as in with your contract. And so I hope everyone has an account in the portal. And if you don't, do so. All right, here's a screenshot with the PD Portal. I hope you've been here. And where I am right now with this screenshot, one account, there is a practice called the T-Call practice for trainers. And all are there, everything you need. When you get a request from us, one of the specialists to train, often, every time you'll need forms, and so the forms are loaded here. And forms, let me find the click. I was going to find that. Here we go. Forms loaded here, as you can see, before the training, after the training, there's different forms. You'll see them here, and you can click in to the different area. Forms will pop up, and you download them from your computer, and you can save them to your drive as you need them. Some need more than others, and we'll talk about how often you need to use the forms. For the community of practice, if you have questions or you want to pose questions to your fellow trainers, you can also do that as well, and start a conversation with your fellow trainers. I don't believe we've had anyone do that just yet. I would encourage you to do that. If you think of a question that you would like information from your fellow trainers about, that would be a thing to do. Train PD, we need two pieces of information once a year. We'll ask you for these two things: the alternate W-9 work for us. This is loaded into that form area, community of practice. And the second form we need, or we'll ask you for, is this ICSC questionnaire. And this is just a part of a questionnaire that we fill out internally for you to work for Texas A&M University. I fill this out and then worry about filling this out incorrectly. We can change, if you fill it out incorrectly, we can change it and correct it on our end, because we create this for you to fill out, for us to fill out the Texas A&M form. So the year. So our year is different from your program year. Our year begins on June 1, and so that will come up pretty soon, and we'll ask for these forms to be filled out again for the year, which will be 2018.
Trey, excuse me.
Yes.
We did have a question.
Okay.
Is it once a calendar year or 1 year from the date submitted? And I just wanted to share that it's once calendar year.
Once a calendar year. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Right. And again, our program year is different from your program year, so we will start our calendar year over on June 1, and we'll begin to ask for these forms again. Be confusing too, because you're so used to your program year being July 1, and so we start a month earlier. Any other questions about the PD portal? Just even accessing the PD portal before we get going any further, because I went into the PD portal and do that in a minute if I need to.
In the chat
yes.
box.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Because it's gotten in there and has an account. It takes practice, and but once you get in there and start practicing with it, you'll get the hang of it. Before you train, when a PD specialist calls you to train, one of the first things that you need to do, first thing you need to do is respond quickly. If you get a call or an email from a PD specialist, really do need you to respond as quickly as possible if you're interested. We need to move on. If you can't or aren't available, we've got to move on to find other trainers. Oftentimes there'll be several events going on. I work in the Houston area, so I may have several providers having a training on the same day, and so I need several people perhaps on the same Saturday, and so I might need 5 people for different trainings, and so I've got to move on and find folks, and folks get booked up quickly. So if you're interested and want to train, please respond quickly. Back with us, because if not, then we need to move on and ask someone else. That's an important thing. And if you don't respond quickly, please don't be upset if we've had to move on and ask someone else before you get back to us. Sometimes we have to do that because time can be an important thing. Before we even initiate the registration link, though, we do need information from you, and this needs to be done as quickly as possible as well. We will this generic cost estimate sheet from you. This is put into the PD portal. We need this filled out completely. We need your name and your home address. So you're coming from, where you'll be going, and the information filled out completely. Remember, sometimes when you're traveling, that you may be leaving to go from San Antonio to Houston, and when you're doing a per diem for travel, it may not be a full day per diem, because if you're going to be training for 3 hours and you're traveling half a day, you train half a day. So some of those things come to play when we're calculating your costs as well. So fill this out, send it back to the PD specialist as quickly as possible so they can get the process going on our end for approval. All specialists know that if you're going to need computers for your training or any special equipment for training other than the standard things, like the computer projector, that kind of thing, that they need to know that right away. Okay. Once approved, and that it's been approved, then we need for you to submit the Train PD copy request to TCAL as quickly as possible as well. Put it into that community of practice for you, and you can download that and use this. Another thing, go into that community of practice and check to see if these forms then updated on our basis, because sometimes we find we need to change them. Completely as possible. Sure, prefer that you put your cell number in here, because if questions, if our Paula, who is our librarian, or our student workers who often make these copies, if they have questions for you, they need to be able to get hold of you. And sometimes, you may not be at your desk, and it could be in the evening when they're making copies. They need to be able to get hold of you and ask you specific questions, and you want to be able to answer them. Put your cell number on here so we can contact you. We also need a shipping number, or address rather, and it should be your home address or your office address, a physical address, not a P.O. box. It needs to arrive at your location for an address if it's coming to you. When you fill this out completely, with several things, and so look at this carefully, be as specific as possible when you're filling this out, because they really can't read your mind. So when you attach documents that go with this, name of the document in. You need this document copied front to back, be specific as possible, because they get a lot of copy requests, and so they need your help to understand what you need. Because again, they just can't read your mind. If it's TOT, that Train sponsored, those materials are loaded into the PD portal. We'll talk about that a little more later, but those materials are loaded into the PD portal. You can refer to those materials. You don't have to attach those documents to your email when you submit them, but do try to refer materials by the name. Like if you need a certain document copied in a way than normal, say you want a document copied separately, it's in the PD portal, okay, so that they know what you're talking about. And I'll go to the portal and look for those things. If you're with an event that you've created, that you have the materials for, you need to send those materials obviously with your training request. Send those as quickly as possible so that they can have them ready for you, because they've got to ship them to you, get them to you in advance so that you've got them. Questions about copying. This is always a big topic. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay. All right, up there. Okay.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Is on Pages copy request?
Deb, because I can't see what that form says from here.
And, yeah, I believe we were limited on 10, but let me double check that real quick because we keep changing that.
Yes.
And let me go ahead and bring up now, if you don't mind, that we are considering, we live in a digital society, and we are considering limiting photocopying and try to pull the participants into the portal to access the handouts. So just keep that in mind in the back of your head that we're going to be talking about that, maybe pushing towards that sometime in the middle of the year. Let me double check while you keep going on the number of pages.
Okay.
And while Deb, this is Federico, and while Deb is checking, I would like to also say something regarding the copies. And toward the bottom of the form, which you cannot see well, but you will have a mention of the fact that we don't want to copy resources that you will not actually use during the training. So that, for example, you have a handout with an activity that you want people to complete during the training, that handout will be copied. You can request it. But you also want everybody to have access to an article for adult reading. That is a resource that you're not going to actually use in the training. We will not photocopy that one. That one will be a link and people can download it. I just want to clarify that. It's written on the form, but many people have requested photocopies that we will not make. We need to be conscious of our resources. Thank you.
I just looked at the form, and this is the new form. We did not put a page limit on there.
Okay.
But if you could just we want to be good
Stewards. Yeah.
thank you. Have one of those days. Be good stewards of our grant dollars.
Right.
So anytime we can limit photocopying, we appreciate it.
Right, and to that end, like Deb was saying, I think as we're moving in that digital age, we are thinking more and more about if you become real tech savvy, you can also think about QR codes. I mean, if you don't always need the whole PowerPoint either. I mean, they think they do, but do look at that PowerPoint when they go back to classes. So you might try thinking sometimes about, do they just need maybe a couple of note pages that they take notes, or a couple of screenshots of a couple of the important PowerPoint slides copied. A lot of trainers are starting to think about strategically now when they train. And just to throw out a little hint there will be some sessions at Taley, and day one of Taley for trainers about trainer effectiveness. And so actually I think some of this may be addressed because a trainer, we don't want our participants to go away with just a lot of handouts that are meaningless. And not to say that your handouts are meaningless, that's not what I'm saying. But even the PowerPoint, have so much paper. So think about what will really be useful to them when they go away from your training. And maybe it's just some of your slides, a copy of a couple of your slides would be more meaningful for them to walk away with, and a page that they can take notes. So you might start thinking about that. Or, like Deb said, something that they can download from the portal to bring with them. We're going more daily. The app for the schedule is going to be on an app, and we're not going to have the schedule in our hands. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So when we go to the before the training, you're attached to your training event, and you go into the portal, and I'll demonstrate how you do that in a moment. Let me go through the slides here. Was there a question? In the portal, you can see going to the right here, the calendar right here. You pull down learning, calendar. It'll pull up your calendar. That's one way to do it. This is how I tend to do it all the time. And find the events or your event. One. This is actually the event that Federico did in January. So this is how your basic information for registration is here. How many people have registered, how many seats are left. Stephen will upload the sign-in sheets the day prior to the event. So when you click in, and I'll demonstrate this in a minute, when you do click in to the, which you see roster here. This is where you want to go. You want to go to that view roster, not the student roster, but that view roster, and the roster says you can download, it gives you an option there to download an Excel sheet, and you could do that. It doesn't have the time in and time out, and we talked about that as a way to download a sign-in sheet, but it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have the configure your time in and time out, which added this program year because the programs are needing that information for their local program. Sign-in sheets for TWC local programs. So Stephen uploads those on the day prior here, okay? And you download them. And yet, a comment there in the chat pod that today's Tech and Tell will be about the Taylor Conference app and how to download it and use it. Okay, you're responsible to scan the completed sign-in sheets back to Stephen, and I would say ASAP. So I really download a scanner app on your phone so that you can do that right away. I downloaded Cam Scanner on my phone, and so I do it as soon as the training is over. And there are other scanner apps that you can download, but then you can take an email, send it to Stephen right then and there, and then you don't have to mail back this that way. So you don't worry about the originals. You can keep them for your records if you want. But Stephen then has the sign-in sheets right away because the ones cannot get their certificates if you're holding them up, if you're hanging on to them. And that's the important thing, because to go in and check in the portal that folks have attended, and he needs those right away. Okay? Participants, again, it would be helpful if you tell them that they have 5 days to log in the portal and register, and it's 5 calendar days. And that 5 calendar days, I believe, starts on Saturday. I'm saying Saturday. I'm thinking about a Saturday training, so that might be day one, because I've noticed by Thursday, which is the day, just often can't register themselves for that training from Saturday. So as a trainer, it's helpful for you if you would mention that to them. Now, I know it's the program's responsibility for those folks to get themselves registered. But it would just be a reinforcement if you can also tell those walk-ins that as well. At PDS, I know I had a meeting with the HCAT consortium the other day. It's including the program and the consortium to have try to have computers at the event and to help folks as they come in to get themselves registered if they walk in and that kind of thing. So, hopefully they'll start doing that. But that's helpful because it is the program's responsibility. But like I said, it's great if you can help reinforce that as well. Any questions?
No, but we do have a couple of comments in the chat pod. Various apps that you can download, so you could send as a PDF and send it in that way.
Stephen says, Olga says Stephen does not prefer pictures. Well, maybe I said that incorrectly, Olga. So, because, Cam Scanner, I save it as a PDF. That's what I do. I'm sorry. I don't send a picture. I take it. You're taking the picture. I save it as a PDF and then send it to him.
And there's a comment from Stephen.
Okay.
So this is directly from him. They're handwritten registrations. Please scan them as PDFs, not JPEGs.
Okay.
It's a little harder for them to read.
And that point, because Stephen, Oh, it's wonderful. Stephen is so wonderful, and he really goes above and beyond to manually register folks sometimes, and he tries to read what people handwrite. And I've encouraged the programs, I know in Houston anyway, please try to help make sure people can read what folks write. Um, and so a good idea as a trainer, even if you could help, make sure people is able to read the sign-in sheet. Brooks is asking, can we write the 5-day on the walk-in sign-in sheet? Then is there a way to write that on there? Could information be included on a blank sign-in sheet for unregistered participants? So that's a thought. All of that, I agree. I'm learning technology. I think I've come a long way since I did it trained PD. Right?
Yes.
I'm trying.
Yes, sir. And we can add that statement to the walk-in sheet.
Okay. Yeah. I do think it's helpful for you guys as trainers if you just help the participants along with that as well. The programs, we hope that they will work on this with their folks, and it's just reinforced everywhere with folks turn, because we want the participants to get used to doing this. That's the goal, obviously, but it's harder to get them trained than others. So we just reinforce it. It will be helpful. Even add. We'll talk. If we can add the 5-day, folks, and after 5 days, the 5 days to go register themselves on the walk-in sheet.
And you did have a question on a link that walks them through getting in and registering. We have a YouTube video on that in the portal.
Mm-hmm. Just sitting on the slide, I just wanted to reinforce, don't be the weak link and not send the sign-in sheets in. And if you have any questions about them, before you send them in, if there's some reason that you're holding onto them, please ask your PD specialist, call Stephen, and if there's a reason you're holding onto them, let us know right away. But please don't weak link, because you're in the way of folks getting their certificate, and that can be critical, especially as we're getting into that June 30 time period, which last January, but the year will end quickly, and folks will be needing their certificates and needing to get them back into their PD coordinators so that they can get their PD recorded into teams, and the year goes fast. So please don't be that weak link. Okay, let's talk about Scantrons. Scantrons are now used for trainer evaluations, and we're very excited about the Scantrons because we're getting some great feedback, and we're actually getting feedback, which we're thrilled about. Many of you know them, they're, and we need a little bit of help with these. You get them with your training materials. If we've mailed your training materials to you, they come with them. If you had your training materials delivered to you another way, or you copied your own training materials, we will mail them to you. And then they come with an envelope, a mailing label for you to mail them back to us. And we would like those mailed back as soon as possible. It is critical for a few things to happen with these as well. We really must have the zip code in order to process them. So if there's no zip code, we can't process them or something, like, so it's like invalid, basically, the zip code's not on there. We would prefer the home zip code. We want to know how far people are traveling to come to our trainings. You know, remember, we're statewide, so we know if someone's coming from the mountains in Fort Davis to come to your training. It gives really good data to know that. They may use black, blue pen, or pencil to fill them out. Please have folks, you know, don't spill coffee or food on them. And the results of the evaluations will be emailed to you and PD specialist, so they know how you're doing. We're getting really good feedback, and we are enjoying this because, you know, in the past we weren't getting really any feedback from the email very much. So this has been helpful, and we hope that you are enjoying getting the feedback as well, and we hope that you are taking this to heart, and any comments that you might need to take to heart and work on, that you are doing that as well. So any questions about the Scantrons?
You had a question.
Okay.
If participants need to erase a bubble and they used ink, how do they correct that? I know that we've got Glenda on the call here, and she's, you know, our Scantron queen. So I would say you could either type or something in the comment box of what you meant for that sentence to say. We could give you a different Scantron. Glenda, do you have any other recommendations?
Ink, they can just put an X over the bubble and circle the one that they want and put a mark. It's going to stop the Scantron machine the same way that not putting the zip code stop it.
But we manually.
have the option to put it in there at that point. Yeah, we can guess what you meant by that.
Okay, great.
So that's fine. People make mistakes all the time. It's set up for that. The only thing I would say about Scantrons, if for reason you do not have enough Scantrons, you make copies of these, but please kind of keep those separate because they won't run through the machine the same way. So we can still enter those. If you, for example, you didn't have quite enough, everybody on site went and made copies, just keep those that were made copies a little bit separate so we know that those are going to stop the machine.
You can also, you know, you usually get several Scantrons, and if someone makes an error and you have an extra one in your hand, you can also get them another one to fill out, you know, if you have those. We did have a question. Somebody had asked me on the previous. They have extra Scantrons left over. They need to send them back. Glenda, what would you say to that question?
They can be used because those dots at the top, if you see where it has those codes, those are coded. They're only coded for your session. So if you want to send them back, we can put them in recycle, or if you have a recycle there, you can put them in recycle there. Don't reuse them because they are not interchangeable with other sessions. This is important for the larger consortia when you have those mini conferences. If one doesn't have enough, another one has extra, you can't just interchange them. They usually have the name of the trainer and the training on them, are specific to that training.
That's a really good point, and that's a point that should be written, but that's a good point. So you cannot reuse the Scantrons. Each Scantron is specific to your training. So that's a very good point, Glenda. Thank you very much. And you could type that in the chat pod, although that doesn't go on the recording, but that's a good point. Good point. Okay. So you can't just toss them. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions about the Scantrons? I'm going to move forward, but think of a question later. We can always go back and answer them because we want to answer your questions. This is your time to ask them. Okay. All right. So at training, talk about what you do after training. Documents that you need to send in after each training. And again, these documents, or one of them anyway, is in that practice. The other one, we have a sample of one in the community of practice, but both documents, both things need to go to David Reynolds and our business office after each training, each and every training. each time train. And I think each time because it's each time. We can't if you don't send them in. We need this independent Texas A&M University Director invoice. All we need for you to do on this is send and date it. Now else, we will fill out the rest. Don't worry about all of this stuff. It's hard not to worry about it, but don't. We'll take care of it. Don't. David's good about that. And then what we need from you then is your personal voice. Voice is different from that generic cost training sheet that you sent in to us when she asked you to train, she or he asked you to train at the beginning. So this is a sample that is loaded into the community. The personal is a flat fee invoice. You're going to break out your expenses like you did for us at the beginning. We just want that flat fee that was approved. So if you were approved for $1,000 for your training, that was the fee that was agreed upon. That is what you will put in the description. You'll describe your training that you did integrated employability skills and consortium and the date and then the amount. And for company, you're the consultant, so you'll fill it like this. And so Google other services and get some ideas. You are like your own company. Things need to go, David, after a training. And again, it may take up to 6 to 8 weeks for you to get paid from Texas A&M, but it is up to when you send those things to David, and if they're correct and those kinds of things as to when then you get paid. Okay, and about that, because payment's important. We want you to get paid. We definitely want you to get paid. Questions about those things, again, don't hesitate to ask your PD specialist who asked you to train for them. Okay? Okay. From here, I'm going to kind of move into some frequently asked questions. If you have, and then not in this webinar, we really aren't talking about how to train. That is in the contract trainer database, and on the portal, I believe we have a video that how to train that you can, if you need to know about, and then we're going to do it tailored some more sessions that were effectiveness sessions on day one. So this is more, just to clarify, this is more just about our processes and things that will help you, and I'll get into the portal in a minute just to demonstrate some things just to make sure everyone's comfortable with that. And on the questions, if anyone doesn't have any questions about this or sheets or anything we've talked about. Okay.
Excuse me, interrupt here, please.
Yes.
Those of you who have additional questions, we do have the contract trainer packet. You should all have been emailed. If you do not have a copy of the most recent version, please type your name and email address in the chat pod, and I'll make sure that you get a copy.
Okay. Okay, so here is one of the questions that we did ask for folks to send in some questions. So we just have a few that folks sent in. This doesn't mean when we get through these that you guys might have more. More TOT trainings in the areas that TWC is moving towards so that I will be more marketable. Yes, and I'm going to start by answering this question, and then Glenda, others may want to jump in here, but you noticed a little bit of difference this year with TOTs from the past couple of years. We are not offering as many TOTs. That's one of the big differences this year. The past 2 years, one of our deliverables was to have a certain number of TOTs, and we had a lot. One of our charges was to get the local programs, the local capacity ramped up for folks to do for assessment and in other areas for TOTs, and we did a lot. We had a bunch of TOTs. It seemed like we were doing them a lot, and you guys were coming to them, and we were very busy with those. So this year, these 2 years with our contract, we don't have a number of TOTs that we're doing, like a deliverable of number amounts. So we're working toward decide what our priorities are. The assessment TOTs will be things that happen on a regular basis because, again, we want to local programs with keeping the local capacity going. That will continue. But with other areas, that will be determined by priority and needs. And we are things as TWC defines them. And a lot of those priorities are career pathways. Determining some of those priorities as we go forward. Focus on the Basics was not our project. That was from Region 6, but that was a priority and a need that came up. We didn't want to get in the way of that priority that came up, so that was going on, and local programs were busy with that. ACE Plus and Best Literacy TOT are coming up in February, and that is on the calendar right now. It's in the PD portal, and announcement will be going out probably today for that. And the other TOTs that will be coming up, again, trying to be strategic as we planned them, because we found we have a lot of TOTs, but the programs don't always request a lot of trainings once we have a TOT. So again, we're trying to be more strategic in planning these TOTs. The areas that seem to be coming up a lot are career pathways, persistence, and retention. And so we are working on training areas. And you'll see them come across on the listserv when we have them. We just haven't had a lot of them, frankly. And we haven't really had any much there that I can think of. Does anyone else want to jump in on this topic? Because we really need TOTs this year. We have a Master Trainer Academy that did not out. We will hope to do that next year. Anybody else jump in? Out on the listserv, we do send out announcements on the listserv to the containers. Good point, Harriet. TOT for Content Standards is coming up in the spring. On April 9th. And as you know, there are criteria for them, and I don't know what that criteria will be yet, but we will work on that, and you will hear about it. Just keep looking for announcements. Trainers have sometimes made comments like, well, we go to these TOTs and nobody calls us. Again, it's the programs, need to request the training. So, and sometimes programs request specific trainers. It kind of works both ways. We make it important, and then the programs may not think that they need it. So, strategic for sure going forward. Okay, I'm going to move on then. Next question. The pre-course work and post-work. If a training for instructors in the field, not a TOT, has those as part of the total curriculum? This is a very good question. And so I'll ask Glenda to kind of step in and talk about this because she's the queen of the courses that developed with the pre-course and post-work. So Glenda, would you please help with this?
So a lot of the new trainings that we're doing have pre and post work because we want to extend the professional development experience. The idea is that the pre-work would be things that normally are more theoretical, like articles or something we want them to read. We don't want to take them away from hands-on practical practice training. I heard a chat, but I can't see it. Okay. So that's the idea of the pre-work. And then the post-work is the idea is that they implement something from the training and fill out a reflection form, which is basically a test in the portal. The system is supposed to tell them when pre and post-work is required in a couple of places. When they register, in the description of the session, it says that there's pre and post-work required. What we've run into, though, is that the PD coordinators will register people and they've not even seen the description of the event, and the PD coordinators didn't tell them that there was pre and post work. So in that case, we're hoping that the system is supposed to be sending out reminders that pre-work is due or post-work is due. I have a session that I'm going to be training on like tomorrow in Houston where the pre-work and post-work is due. When you into the roster, you have the option as a trainer to email participants. And so on Wednesday, a couple of days ahead of the training is just to remind them that there is work that is required for this training so that we can spend more time on the practical application. And to find that, I need to go into the transcript, view the details of the session, and look for the pre-work session. For post-work, they go into their transcript, look at view details, and go down to post-work, and that's how they get the pre-work and post-work items completed. There's something else called prerequisite. Now, many of our courses have prerequisites. For example, Module 3 of the Distance Learning Academy has a prerequisite of Module 1. Well, that you need to do 1 before you do 3. Those are set up so that the person actually has to complete that course before they register. Pre-work, they're allowed to register. They're just encouraged to do the pre-work before they attend. Trainers are not responsible for deciding what happens if they don't complete the pre-post work. What do they get paid for it? That is all a program level decision. My suggestions to trainers is anything that has to do with money, stay out of it between them and their supervisors. It is strongly encouraged, and the idea for the post work, please let them know when doing the post work and the implementation that there is a real person reading their answers. So a lot of people do it just to get the credit for doing the post work, and I get questions like this. Implemented critically reflective teaching. Answer most commonly reported is yes. So ask that, and then I have to send it back to them and ask them to redo it and read the questions more carefully. So please ensure that they know that there is actually a person reading those answers. It's not just a computer checking a tick mark. We want to make sure that if they have any questions, they can put that in those implement and reflections and move on to them by email. I originally had trainers who were on those trainings set up as graders. That was confusing to some people. So I think I have taken almost everybody off as graders. If for some reason you want to see the information and reflection, let me know and I'll add you as a grader. You'll get an email when somebody submits so that you can see it. Is there any questions on the pre and post work? Go into the roster and make sure everybody knows how to email all participants.
In fact, after the next question, I thought I would go into the portal and do a few things.
Okay,
so do you want me to do that? I could do that. We have one more question that's on a screen, and then I thought I would go into the portal and do several things. So I could do that.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. That's a good point because I do want to demonstrate that. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, a that's a lot. Because yeah, and will the credit for being there for the face-to-face while they're if they didn't do the pre and post work. Did you say that, Glenda?
They'll get a certificate for the face-to-face,
For
separate from
being
the
there, right,
certificate for the
okay.
pre and post.
Okay.
And like I said, as far as payment, stay out of it. My best suggestion is trainers, we don't have anything to do with the money.
Right, okay. Right. I just wanted to clarify that too because that has been an issue. Okay. Okay. So if you think about that, or I think probably when you'll have questions about that is when you're actually doing that. That's probably when that will come up. And so please, feel free to ask. Glenda is the best person since she knows that more intimately. But
can I say one more thing, Tracy?
Yes, sure, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm thinking when participants have questions about these PD portal activities, the email to give them is pdportal@tamu.edu. Please send them my personal email. As you guys know, Tracy, myself, Beth, all of us, we're always out in meetings or training, and we're not always in the office. PD Portal TAMU, several of our office staff are able to help with most of the questions. And then if they're not, then we also see those emails and we can jump in or they'll forward them to us. So 6 people who sent email, but if you send it to me or send them to Beth or whoever hired you, they get an answer as quickly. So please use email with your participants.
Exactly. Very good. Good point. Okay. So we're going to go to the next question, which actually I've already. What about questions from training participants about how to use the PD portal? And the question, Glenda just answered it. Do the PD portal at tamu.edu. That is the answer to that question. And then she also posted in the chat pod that our 1-800 number, if they need to call someone and talk to them, which are better at talking through the problem on the phone, our 1-800 number, 441-7323, is the best number to call as well. And one more question, and then we'll go into the PD portal. Those are the best way for folks to have their questions answered pretty way. We have 6 staff that man the PD portal at tamu.edu email. We say 24/7, but we do have to sleep, and the number is manned during the workday, so that's a way to get hold of us. Okay. And the most common reasons folks have trouble with the PD portal, we think, is because they are forgetting their passwords, and then they want to create a new account, and then Glenda or Deb go back in, and they just can't have duplicate accounts. It gets too confusing. So folks, I know they have so many passwords and accounts, and that gets confusing, but the most common reason folks have problems, they forget their password and they're gone and that kind of thing. So go to one more question that is on the slide, and then we're going to go into the portal. How can I get access to the materials that are available in the PD portal? So the materials are loaded into the portal, which I'll show you this in the portal, that have been through a Train PD sponsored event. Access to the materials in the portal. I'll go in and show you. This is just a screenshot here. Should, because I've worked hard to make sure if you've been through or right from the start, as this one is, TOT, that you are attached to training materials or Teams training or the best literacy training that you have attached to the materials. And so, if you have been through those trainings and are trying to access the materials and you find that you can't access them, please contact me because, it could be that you're not attached for some reason, and I'll be glad to make sure that you are. And I'll also be glad to show you how to access them the first time, the first couple of times, because it is tricky. It is tricky to do that and learn how to do that. So I'm going to go into the portal now, and I'll demonstrate this, and then we'll also do a few things as we go through the portal and just make sure that are understanding the portal, answer some questions. I'll show you how to email, like Glenda was saying, and then answer any other questions you might have, because we do want you to get very familiar with this portal, and then also may be able to answer some questions that folks have just in general about the portal when you're out there in the field. If you get more familiar with the portal, that helps as well. But if you're not, other materials that are not TOT materials are not going to be loaded into the portal. I believe that Alex asked this question, and so Alex, I wasn't sure. You asked the question about, the question was longer. I pulled this out of the question about how, this was your question, Alex. I'll read the question, which I didn't post the whole thing. How can a trainer get a look at the workshop materials that are in the PD portal and the materials T call library? Can we call library photocopy the handouts that are in the shared drive, I believe, that you see what is there. And so you were asking about a training that maybe you had already done and those materials that had been in the shared drive. So Alex, if you wanted to, Todd, if you're on here, or we can unmute you and see what your question was about that, because I wasn't clear if it was about another training besides a TOT training. I'm sorry. I'll go in and share my screen. If Alex wants to share, we can. She got her hand up. So Debbie, you can unmute her. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. See, I think that was about a TOT training.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure on the trainings if the latest materials were there. So that was my concern. Was I going to see the latest material?
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's it.
Okay. No, thank you for clarifying it, because that's a good point. We are best to keep the latest version of the materials in the PD portal.
Okay.
And I know with the Teams training, I was telling the Teams trainers in a refresher we had back in November that we've updated those trainings, and I put the dates that they were updated in the PD portal, so with the document. So when we said it had the date of like 10/6/16, so the trainers knew that material had been updated on that date. So it is good practice to go in and check instead of just taking materials that you downloaded on your stick and going with those, to go into the portal and check to see if anything has been updated. But we do try to keep that updated, the goal, because we want to keep y'all current. Absolutely. Okay. Good point, and thank you, Alex. That's a good question. I'm sharing my screen now. I'm going to the portal. So to do a few things here. What I think I'll do is show you here. I hope everyone has been to the Connect communities, because you get there from here. This is one way. Now, I'm showing you the way I would do it. You go to the orange bubble and go down and find. You meet in several communities. As I'm on staff, I have access to a lot of communities. You may have more or less on yours. But who's a trainer is connected to the Train PD at TCAL trainer community here. Okay. So there's a bunch of people, and you can go in there and update your profile. You can add information to your profile. You can put your picture. I need to put my picture. But you can beef that up, and we can it's much more engaging. Like I said, you can post topics, or you can post things out. Okay. And if you don't see that community listed in your list, you need to contact us so we can connect you. In the screenshot, you have all of the forms. So like before the training, you can click the forms, but you also have some, I think it's here, the request form, the copy request, ICSC, which you only want to year. Okay. Uh-oh, I'm not shopping. Okay. Yeah. And
Would you like me to go ahead and just share my screen and you can walk through it? Keep it go.
that is hilarious. Okay. I was not shopping. I'll just clarify that right now. Okay. Who's time to shop? Okay. But there's here we go. So after I show you, it's after the training, there is a list because we do have instructions and things. Here's some instructions here just to remind you. Program, I know that HGAC down here, our PD coordinator needs a copy of the agenda in our office. She does. So I usually send it an email to our trainers that they need that. But here's some instructions from our contract trainer packet that copy on here. So this is helpful. And here are your forms that you can refer to as well. Okay? So this is all here for you. And we, again, try to keep this updated here. Here are dates. Put it in here. Okay? All right. So there's your community. Let's look at a training.
Before you
Before I
do that,
mm-hmm.
can you go to the community?
I can. And I probably know how to do this faster than I do. I don't know.
Okay, so just added in here, go to topics.
Yes. Okay.
I did a trainer questions topic, so you click on that. And options on the create posting. So you can create a discussion there. It's set up now in the portal that if you create a posting and we reply to it, that you get a notification that we replied to a posting that you created. So if you have a question that make it available to everybody, and then the moderators, Tracy, Beth, myself, and Deb, our moderators on this board, will get a notification that there is a posting there that we need to look at. So if you have a question, that may be another way to get a hold of us, especially if you think it's something other trainers may have a question about also.
It's wonderful. So who will be brave and start a posting? Because if you have a question about something, someone else probably does too. That's the way that works. So please start a topic. That would be great. Because this can really be interactive and helpful for everyone. Great. Anything else on this? You can also get to your contract trainer master forms this way. Okay. It's going a little fast through this, but you can see who all the members are. You can click there and see everybody's everyone's name if in their faces, if they have their faces there, and you can see everybody who's in that community. If you don't see yourself there, let us know. Okay. Anything else there in there, Deb or Glenda?
No, we've got it. Got it. And those of you who posted your email addresses, I went ahead and sent you all the documents in one packet. But again, just know that those documents can be found in the trainer community, what that Tracy just shared.
And again, just to reiterate that sometimes those documents change. In fact, like a copy request form, we will often notice that we need to change something. And so I would recommend that you do go to the TCAL trainer community and check to see that you have the latest version of the copy request form, because it's just helpful to have the latest form when you're submitting it. And it tells you where to email those forms as well. And it's a good idea to let you know, it's a good idea to copy the PD specialist. I like to be copied anyway. I don't know about the other PD specialists. I like to be copied when you send that copy request to the TCAL, because then I can help troubleshoot if there's questions about the copy request. I can also help troubleshoot. And I like to be copied when you send your invoices today, because again, I can help troubleshoot if there's copies on the other side, questions on the other side. Now then, the event calendar and show. So I clicked on just to that fast learning and events calendar. This I have an event on Saturday. I are training several of us. So I'm going to show you my event coming up. Right here. This is your event if you're training. So this is this event. You can see, click in here. Training details. So I'm the trainer. Krista and I are the trainers. You'll see information. It tells you, just so that you know, you can see the PD category. I'm just, people may ask you category it is in. This is a common question. It is RC. This falls under, this tells you all of these things here. That this is full training. We have 0 seats available. And because I'm the PD specialist, I communicated with them about how many people we could fit in the room. And we're prepared with more copies than 30. Now, I'm going to go to this view roster here, not the student roster. Okay, I'm going to go to the view roster. I want to look and see who is there. And go to the view roster, and you can scroll down all the way. It tells me what training is and the room number and map even. And if you want to see where you need to go as the trainer and get them in Google there. But I'm already downloaded the sign-in sheet. Okay, go to roster. And I can see anyone that has registered for the course. Now, you can see where it says print sign sheet. I don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, because that sign-in sheet does not have the information that we need or that the local program needs. It doesn't have the in and out, the time out columns. That's the thing. So you want to use the sign sheet that Stephen uploads on the prior page. Okay. You can email, and again, the sheets are here as well. I could get them here, but those users, because I can email the users. Right. Yes, I just clicked on it, and I email all of the people registered by clicking on as the trainer. I can send them an email. Okay, so you can communicate with the trainers. I'm sorry, not trainers, the participants. And I do it from my home address. My personal email.
Title that's going to be used by the system to identify that email.
Mm-hmm.
Just name it email to ability trainees or whatever. From in the reply email address, you're welcome to use the PD portal email address if you want, or use your personal email. That's fine. So in 2, you could actually use the PD portal at TAMU email address if you didn't want them to have your personal email for some reason.
Oh, good.
It'll come from the portal to the portal. But to you directly, then you're going to want to make that reply to address your personal address, and they won't see that. The people receiving the email won't see the reply to address.
Okay. You could email them, and you could say, so if you've got pre-post work, this would be a perfect way to communicate with everyone. The work, right, Glenda?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What are you going to say?
I was going to say, if you wanted to personalize it, if you click that tags, that blue link there right above where your cursor is, a screen that has, see where it says recipient first name? So you usually say, if you double click the recipient first name, this may be information that some of you want to know, but some of you are tech savvy.
Yeah, okay.
Double click the recipient first name, right?
Oh, first name,
Double click so
the
you get the
thing.
whole.
Okay.
Highlight it.
Okay. I'm okay.
Just
okay,
not that tag. No, go back
no,
to that.
okay.
You just want the tag.
Alrighty.
So double click because it'll pick up the whole line.
Okay.
And
there
then
we go.
copy that. Control C, copy.
Right.
Go back to your email. And at your email, write dear and Control V, paste it. There you go. To each person's personal name, so it doesn't look like a spam mail.
Oh, well, isn't that cool?
So if you want to, there's some other tags there, like what the name of the training is that you can use so that you can personalize it a little bit. This is not something we're requiring trainers to do, but I just wanted you guys to know that this is an option for communicating with your participants before and after the training if you get information to them.
Oh, great. So, and I've noticed when you send an email, this is a good point. I could send an email to this group and say, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. So doing it. I'm going to have to go from the PD portal.
And remember that we do have Tech and Tell coming up, so
Yeah, okay.
we might need to
We need to move
put us along.
Okay. Right, okay, good point. And, okay. Whoops, I didn't do this. But let me not do this. But you have here, it says send date and time. So it doesn't automatically just send it right away. I've noticed this when I've done this before because I'll be looking for the email like right away to go to someone, and it doesn't send it right away. You'll notice if it's 10:47 right now, it will be sent about 11, and it usually even has a little bit of a lag time after that. So just to let you know, it does you would hit send when you do the email, and then it will go out. It has a little bit of a lag time, just letting you know that, to communicate with folks. Go on, you're right. We've got to get going because Tech and Tell is coming up. So when you're, is there anything about that we need to talk about? Viewing your event, keeping track of who's registering, that kind of thing. And it's a good thing as a trainer to watch that, because especially if you're traveling in from out of town, you kind of want to know the registration and that kind of thing, so you know how that's going. But and it with them about work. And I know some trainers have wanted to know, have wanted to ask some questions for their activities. So this has been a way that they've done that as well. So if you need questions or have questions about emailing them, let us know, because it is a little tricky the first couple of times. I know I've had to ask for help when I've done it as well. Okay, I'm going to move on because we do have to wrap this up. I do show you, if you're a TOT trainer, I'm going to go to how to find the materials, and I'm going to just use Teams, for example. And so one way to search is to go to the search up here on the right, and I'm a Teams trainer. I'm looking for Teams materials, and so I type in Teams, and you can see several things pull up, and so I'm looking for, say, I'll Teams. Oops. It is spin, yes, okay. All right. So it says trainers. Anytime you're a trainer and you're attached, it starts with trainers. So these are the different Teams modules. I'll look into visual reports and tables, and always have to click several times generally to get into things. You must remember that it's not automatically the ATM machine. You have to click a few times to get things open. But here's this module. The curriculum is down here. These are the documents in here. And so see that this is updating 1617. And you click in, and you have to click again, and it'll open, sign, and you click again. So download. Another thing to remember is I'm in Google Chrome right now. You don't want to be using Internet Explorer. That's not your best option of a browser to use when you're using the PD portal. And remind your participants of this as well. That's what folks often do. They're using the wrong browser to try to navigate this. Firefox is another good option. And your pop-up blockers need to be off when you're using the portal. That will hang folks up, and that will, you download documents or get very far sometimes. So how do you access the materials that are TOT materials when you are a trainer, TOT training, okay? Interesting. Practice finding, practicing getting into them, practicing downloading, that kind of thing. And if you need help, please call me and let me know. Please, I mind helping at all. I'll send screenshots. I'll walk you through it. I don't mind. And Glenda says Safari does okay, but probably Chrome and Firefox are the best. So what here do we need to share, Glenda and Deb?
We really need to sort of
we need to wrap it up.
finalize this, please, so we can get to Tech and Tell.
Okay.
We can
All right.
do another webinar and go a little deeper into like how to do those emails, access the training materials, and so on. So as you all are going through the portal, in learning these new things. If you have a question, please post it into that trainer community in the topic that Glenda created.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go back to the slide that we had. So any last questions that you have? We do need to wrap this up. And at any time you have questions, please ask your PD specialist. They are there to help you and assist you through the process. We want you to be successful, trainer, always. We want you to be successful. That's our goal. We want the field to be successful, the teachers, and so feel free to ask us questions at any point in time and let us know what with it. If we need to go further and have another webinar, we'll be glad to do that. And again, at Taylor on day 1, we do have the trainer effectiveness workshops that will be going on all day at Taylor. And Deb, I don't know if you want to share any more about that before we get off, what the content of those will be.
Like effective presentations. I'm sorry, I'm calling somebody back on the webinar here. So you're talking about the trainings that we're doing?
Yes.
For the trainers? Yeah. So we're doing a number of presentations. I think we have 4 of them. They're going to be peppered at, throughout the conference. And Beth, you can pipe in too. I know that the one that I'm working on is how to deliver effective presentations using PowerPoint. I think our folks at Region 6 who are subcontractors are doing a couple of presentations. We're meeting with them next week.
Right. Right. On good, effective activities and icebreakers and things like that.
Right.
And it looks really exciting. I saw it the other day. It looks really cool. So, yes, so please attend those because we want you to be the most effective trainers that you can be. So, any other questions?
Okay. Well, everybody, for joining us this morning. Again, if you have any questions, please email Tracy, or if it's PD Portal, the PD Portal at TAMU account, and we'd be more than happy to help you out.
Absolutely.
And I just typed, if you have any general training questions, the address trainpd@tamu.edu is a good one to use. trainpd@tamu.edu for training questions.
Well, thank you for all the hard work that you do in the field training our teachers. That's where it counts, and that's what matters. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, great. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.